This Friday we'll have our Chapter 11 mid-unit quiz, and our mastery objective is students will be able to find the area of circles and volume of three-dimensional figures. To review some of the major concepts from lesson 11-1, which is the areas of circles, we need to remember the formula of A equals pi r squared. And keep in mind too that we are using the radius and not the diameter. So if we're finding the area of a circle with a radius of 5 centimeters, we want to round to the nearest tenth in our final answer. The process that we're looking at this is to first use the formula, recognizing that the pi will be substituted with 3.14. The radius, which we get again from the information within the problem, is 5 centimeters. We need to recognize that we are squaring it and not just saying 5 times 2, but instead 5 squared, which is 5 times 5. Once we have our 3.14 times 25, we get our final answer, which would be rounded to the nearest tenth that we would have. Using the calculator features that some of us may be using, we're using again the same formula. We're just using the correct key functions in order to come up with our rather large decimal fraction. Once we have that again, we're rounding to the nearest tenth until we have our final answer of 78.5. And remember, we're looking at square centimeters or centimeters squared. Again, showing another example, we have a circle with a diameter of 22 yards. But remember the process. We need to find the radius and not the diameter in our formula. So using the formula again of pi r squared, we take half of 22 and we get our radius of 11. Plugging that into our rule, we come up with our answer of 380.1, again, square yards. Now, making the transition from area to volume is somewhat related because we still need to find the area of the base before we can multiply it by the height. The volume, in order to determine that, we're always multiplying the base of the three-dimensional figure by its height, or later on we'll call altitude. So in this case here, we would take 3 times our 7, and we'd go ahead and we'd get our response. 3 times 7, we'll go ahead and get 21. When we take 21 times our 4, we'd end up with our final answer of 84 centimeters cubed. Now it's not squared because that's for two-dimensional objects. We're instead looking for cubic centimeters, which is for three-dimensional objects, which is your height, your width, and then your length also that you would have. On the next slide here again, we're examining a triangular prism this time. Now the formula is still exactly the same, but we need to keep in mind when we're finding the b for the base, we're looking at this from the concept of 4 times 8 is looking at our overall figure that we have here. 4 times 6, which is our altitude or our height here. With our 4 times 6 would give us a total of 24. When we take our 24, we have to recognize this is a triangle, which means we have to find the area of it by dividing the quadrilateral areas in half. So 24 divided by 2 gives us our 12. When we take our 12 multiplied by the height, that gives us our final answer of B, which is 96 centimeters cubed. Now, examining things such as cones or eventually into pyramids, it's the exact same formula with this slight little catch to it. You're still looking at volume times base times height. The only difference is now that we do not have parallel congruent circles across from each other as you would in a cylinder, we need to go ahead and take our final answer and divide it, or in this case multiply by 1/3, or divide by 1/3, which would be the same. So if we look at this example here with the process of a parfait glass being 7 centimeters across and 15 centimeters tall, we'd use the process. Again, pi r squared times the height, but we're then going ahead and multiplying it by 1/3, showing the steps through this of how we go ahead and obtain our final answer. And then finally, again, our final answer in the end is 192.4, or 192 4/10 cubic centimeters. And again, showing two other steps of how the process behind it. Now looking at a pyramid, it's the same principle as what you saw in the previous slide. The only difference here is we're looking at it from the regards to, again, base times height divided by 3 or times 1/3. So in this case here we have 5, 12, and 15. Step number 1 would go ahead and have us do 5 times 12, which gives us our 60, divided, or in this case multiplied by 1/2, which brings us to our 30. In step number 2, you would take that 30 answer that we previously obtained, and we'd go ahead and now multiply it by the height or altitude, which is 15. When we come up with our answer there, we have to remember we're also multiplying it by 1/3, or divide by 3, which would give us our final answer of 150 cubic inches. Feel free to replay this video as many times as you need. Reference your notes and your book also to assist you, in addition to all of your study guide sheets that you received over the course of the week. But in the end, good luck on Friday's quiz. I know you will do well.